All right, buenos dias, que onda, que paso, amigos? Welcome back, John's Moto Garage. I'm ready to just have some fun, jump on a motorcycle, and get out of Dodge, you know what I mean? You guys ever feel like you're just working like a dog, and you're like, what's the point of life, man, if all I do is work, and never have any fun? That's where the two-wheeled motos come in for me. But really, it can be anything. Just insert, whatever your outlet is. Anyway, for me, as of late, I've been having a blast on these motorcycles. Today, we're going to jump on the Harley Davidson Street Rod 750. This one's a 2017. So this is arguably one of Harley's most hated motorcycles. There's a lot of bikes in Harley's history that they say are the most hated. The V-Rod got some grief on that one. The Fat Bob, they got a little bit of grief on that one as well. The Sporty, forever people have ragged on that Sportster, but you also have a big fan following of the Sportster for good reason. Anyway, the Street 750, we're going to jump on this thing, dig into the soul, scratch the surface, see what it's all about, man. What are some of the pros and cons? Why would you love this bike? Why do some people hate it? Let's find out. John's Moto Garage. All right, you guys, as always, full disclosure, full disclaimer. This is not a comprehensive ride review. I will inevitably and undoubtedly leave some stuff out. I think people just like to pick on the underdog here as far as the Harleys go, because the the Sportsters get a lot of crap, even from Harley riders themselves, which is all complete garbage, because honestly it doesn't matter what motorcycle you ride, you know what I mean? But the Street 750, well, Harley came out with the Street 500 and the Street 750, which were their smaller liquid cooled motorcycles. And I don't know exactly why they did it, presumably to compete with that market, people that were going off after the metric entry-level cruisers like your Honda Shadow 750 and 600 and the Suzuki Boulevards 800s and the Kawasaki Vulcans, all those motorcycles. So you would assume that's why Harley came out with this bike, to kind of compete with those. It's liquid cooled, all that good stuff. Those bikes didn't do super well. And then Harley ended up coming out with the Street 750, or the Street Rod 750, which is what we're riding here. And this bike as well definitely gets mixed reviews. So one of the first things that people mention always, and we'll just get this out of the way and then we'll forget about it, is the ergonomics and the seating position. It is very, very bizarre how they did it here, but because of the placement of the pipe, your mid controls, they're not just mid controls, but they are like super high up. So you squat. It's not like a sport bike where you're kind of hunched back, but you're squatting in a sense. And so that's one of the big things that people hate. And I have to say that's not unfounded. It's not without reason. But people ride sport bikes and uncomfortable bikes all the time. So if you can, look past that and you're a little bit shorter, then there's actually a lot to like about the motorcycle. Anyway, so we got that out of the way. Ergonomics, man, they suck for anybody really probably much taller than me. I'm about 5'8". Are there workarounds? Possibly. I haven't looked into it. But aside from that, a lot of Harley dudes dislike the bike because it kind of follows the metric, where Harley traditionally has a turn signal on either side that's self-canceling. This one went metric style. It's only got the turn signal on the one side. Also, it's got more of the metric, how you say, what's the word I'm looking for, kind of trim to it. Or at least that's what some people argue. Metric cruisers typically use a lot more plastic. It keeps the weight down. This bike weighs in at like 530, 520 pounds. So it's not like the lightest bike out there, but I don't know, maybe they kept some weight down by using some plastic pieces. Now, I've heard people talk about how this bike was created or manufactured outside of the US. I didn't do my research to deny or confirm that. However, I did see in some comments, some people mentioned how all the bikes sold in the US of the Street Rod were manufactured in the US, and then other ones were manufactured over in India, but only the ones that they sold in India. I don't know if that's true or not, and honestly I don't really care. There's so much crap nowadays. It's a global economy. There's a lot of stuff that's networked and manufactured outside the US. I guarantee 98% of us are probably wearing clothes that were manufactured outside the US, and a lot of parts on our vehicles were as well. All right, so in my opinion, should this be Harley's most hated motorcycle? I don't think so. In fact, I don't really know if there's a reason you should hate a motorcycle, unless maybe you bought it and it was a complete hunk of junk and kept breaking down. But that's not really what I'm hearing about this bike. It seems like a lot of people who hate it aren't actually people who own the motorcycle, maybe with a select few. But those, for the most part, who purchased the bike and kept it for themselves, I think a lot of them liked it. And part of the reason is, it is a really fun motorcycle to ride. You hear a lot of complaints too about the like stock exhaust. Most motorcycle stock aren't going to be the sound that you're looking for. I am curious to see how it does on the freeway, so we'll check it out, see if we can pass up this oversized load here. Oh. That was easy. Let's get it up to freeway speed, see how she does. So I have to say, you know, I talk a lot about how certain bikes would not be good on long distance rides. My first bike ever was a Honda Shadow VLX 600, and that, talk about a horrible motorcycle, that was a horrible bike for touring. Obviously not built for it. However, I managed to take that bike all the way from Arizona up to Wyoming, almost all the way to Yellowstone. So the point I'm making is, any bike, for the most part, can pull it off. You know, typically it's going to come down to the rider. But the question though is, are you going to be comfortable doing so? And this bike, you know, purely due to the ergonomics, will probably not be the comfortable bike for that type of a trip. But as far as the engine goes, for the sufficient power, I don't think you would really have a problem pulling off longer rides. It's just going to be whether or not you're comfortable with those longer rides. So sitting here putting along at 65-70 miles per hour, this thing's awesome. I think these street rods boast around 70 horsepower. Hopefully I get it right, and around 50 foot-pounds of torque. And so for how lightweight the bike is, it's not a, you know, completely gutless motorcycle. And I'll also add that with the upgraded suspension with piggyback reservoirs, suspension wise, while I'm no like expert when it comes to like handling and all that kind of thing, it actually feels pretty good. Oh shoot, I thought I was able to turn there, but I wasn't. I guess we're back on the freeway, you guys. And I'm not like pissed off about having to get back on the freeway here. You'll note at freeway speeds, I don't feel like I'm struggling to keep up. I'm passing people up left and right, man. That's one of my big complaints with some of your other metric cruisers, like your V-Star 650, for example. I just feel so underpowered on that bike when, you know, cruising on the freeway, you feel like you can hardly keep up. And that's one thing you don't want with the bike. You know, typically when you think motorcycle, you think, okay, I should be able to pass cars up, no problem. And sadly, there's a lot of bikes out there that just don't have that reserve in them. Cruising along on this thing, I don't get that sensation. Now I will say the placement of the foot of the rear brake peg is a little awkward. You almost have to move your foot in like this, and I hate that. I hate anything regarding the brake that isn't just the natural position. Shoot. Sorry buddy, I didn't mean to be cutting you off like that. But aside from that, as far as like speed and kind of the overall funness, I really do like this. I remember the Vulcan feels a lot more refined as well though. Like going from the Vulcan to this, you can feel how the transmission's not as smooth, and it feels a little more twitchy in the throttle. But if you're just jumping on this and you don't have anything to compare it to, then it's not really a complaint. But the biggest gripe is still the biggest gripe, that being the ergonomics. And for many people, that's not a matter of just like look past it, it's a matter of sorry, you can't, you know what I mean? But all that aside, it's a really fun motorcycle. It is quick for the entry-level cruisers. You know, anything else, if you were to stack it up with your V-Star 650, Honda Shadow 750, Vulcan Boulevard 800, the Kawasaki Vulcan 650S, you know, all those other bikes in that 750 range. It's something different if you bump up into your, like, you know, Triumph Bonneville 900 or, you know, those bikes. But of all those motorcycles, this one is still going to be up there. I'm going to say not above the Vulcan S, but just below the Vulcan S. You know, I'm basically probably my second favorite entry-level cruiser. A lot of traffic through here today. I was hoping to get a top speed run, but I don't know if I'll be able to. All right, I'm going to try a quick 0 to 60. Part of me thinks this might actually be faster than the Vulcan S, but we shall see. Yeah, I think this might actually be faster than the Vulcan S. All right, you guys, I gotta get out of here. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I don't know, we'll have to go home and compare, but I think this might actually be faster than the Vulcan S. It's a V-twin liquid-cooled 750, so it is a larger displacement, but the Vulcan S is like, you know, gets all the hype for being the fastest little cruiser, but I don't know, man. I just don't know. But this definitely has that same kind of fun attraction to it, that being that it's a smaller, lighter, kind of not necessarily super fast bike, but you know, funner to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow deal. This has passenger pegs. I have yet to try a stand-up on here. Well, I'll say I can wheelie this Harley a lot better than I can my actual Harley, that's for sure. Do we dare go back and do one more? Just like with all bikes, I think this has a lot to offer, I really do. It's a little hooligan machine, man. That's kind of how it feels. This is going to be right there, man. It's a competitor right there with your Yamaha Bolt and the Bonneville and the Triumphs. Really, I think I'm kind of now seeing how it would group in and compete with some of those motorcycles. While a lot of people may not be thinking this bike right off the bat for some of those, I think it actually totally could, man. All right, you guys, John's Moto Garage, the Harley Street Rod 750. I like it more than I thought I did. I don't think it should be hated as much as it is. I think Harley, you know, poorly designed some things on it. Makes you wonder if they kind of, you know, really tested it out much in that regard, but it's a fun bike. What's up? Thanks, dude. Is that the street triple? Nice. Yeah, I like those. All right, there you have it, you guys. John's Moto Garage, the Harley Street Rod 750. Fun bike by my estimations. But, you know, there's some reasons you might hate it, such as this little guy right here. I mean, come on, who designs a bike to where you're actually meant to rest your foot on the exhaust? Now let's be honest, here's my bike over here. Well, it's not meant for it. You can see my shoe hits from time to time with the wheelie game, but it's not quite the same thing. Anyway, like and subscribe if you dig it. Leave a comment below. What do you think of this old beaut here? And we'll catch you guys next time. Nos vemos. Hasta luego.